Chapter 1: The Midnight Craving. It was nearly midnight when the storm rolled in. Rain lashed against the tall windows of Elena's apartment, turning the glass into streaked, trembling mirrors. Wind howled like a creature prowling the city, and the occasional crackle of thunder rattled her bookshelves. Curled up on the couch, with a threadbare blanket and her favorite crime novel abandoned on her lap, Elena's stomach rumbled louder than the weather outside. She hadn't eaten dinner. A leftover granola bar from her purse wasn't going to cut it. Pulling out her phone, she flicked through the food delivery apps. Most restaurants were closed, understandably, but one small place on the outskirts, Pasta Vita, was still accepting late-night orders. Odd. She didn't remember seeing it before. The menu was simple: handmade penne with creamy pesto, garlic bread, lemon ricotta cake. Her mouth watered. Her heart, though, hesitated. "Just pasta," she whispered to herself, trying to push aside the unease she always felt when she had to interact with strangers late at night. But hunger won. She placed her order, paid, and curled back into her blanket, checking the time. Estimated delivery, 28 minutes. She yawned and tried to return to her book, but her mind kept drifting. To the silence of the hallway, the empty stairwell, the power flickers she'd seen twice in the last hour. She lived alone on the top floor of a 4-story building with only 2 other occupied apartments, both currently empty, their lights dark for days. One couple was on vacation. The other unit belonged to a quiet woman in her 60s who had been hospitalized last week. Alone, completely. The phone buzzed. "Your order is on the way." Strange. Only 15 minutes had passed. The second buzz came 10 minutes later. "I'm outside your door." Elena frowned. No doorbell, no knock? She padded to the door barefoot, heart thumping harder than it should have. She peeked through the peephole. Her breath caught. A man in a black delivery jacket stood in the hallway, holding a paper bag. His cap was low, his hair dripping wet from the rain. He looked up directly at the peephole, as if he could see her watching. Her hand hovered above the lock. She wasn't sure why she hesitated. Maybe it was the storm. Maybe it was how the hallway light above him kept flickering, strobing his figure like a horror movie. Then he smiled. It wasn't creepy. In fact, it was strangely warm. His smile didn't reach his eyes, but something about it made her stomach flutter in a way that had nothing to do with hunger. She unlocked the door. "Pasta for Elena?" he asked, voice deep and steady. His eyes were a soft hazel, almost golden under the dim light, and his jawline sharp beneath the wet brim of his cap. The smell of rain and something else, like spice, clung to him. She nodded, taking the bag with trembling fingers. "Thanks, that was really fast." He tilted his head. "No traffic? Storms keeping everyone in." She tried to smile. "Makes sense." He didn't leave right away. For a moment, he just stood there, eyes drifting over her shoulder as if searching for someone behind her. She turned slightly, instinctively shielding the inside of her apartment. "Sorry," he said, finally taking a step back. "Long night. Didn't mean to be weird." "It's okay." He looked at her again, softer this time. "Be careful, yeah? Nights like this, strange things happen." Before she could respond, the hallway light blinked out completely. Total darkness swallowed them. Her breath caught. There was a rustle, his jacket moving, then the soft click of a flashlight turning on from his phone. "Here," he said gently, shining the beam toward her feet so she wouldn't trip. "Go inside. Don't stay by the door." She nodded, heart racing. and closed the door softly behind her. Inside, the lights flickered once, then steadied. The pasta was still warm in her hands, but her appetite was fading under the strange weight in her chest. She set the bag down and leaned against the wall, listening. No footsteps, no elevator hum, no door closing. Was he still outside? Slowly, quietly, she tiptoed back to the door and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. She took a shaky breath and turned the lock, then the deadbolt. Then, for good measure, she pulled the small wooden chair from the kitchen and jammed it beneath the doorknob. Her heart wouldn't slow. She tried to shake it off. He was just a delivery guy, probably tired, maybe a little odd. That's all. She opened the pasta. Steam rose, creamy and fragrant. It smelled amazing. Her stomach growled again. She took a bite. That's when her phone buzzed again. No caller ID. She frowned and answered without thinking. Static. In a soft voice. Hope you like the pasta, Elena. She froze. Who is this? Click. The line went dead. She stared at her phone, then at the door. Her hands were shaking now, but not from the cold. The lights flickered once more. Outside, thunder cracked, so loud the windows vibrated. She set the pasta down carefully and backed away from the door. This night wasn't over yet. Chapter 2. Eyes that stay too long. Elena didn't sleep that night. She left the living room lamp on and curled into a ball under her blanket, every creak of the building tightening her chest. She tried convincing herself the call was just a prank. Maybe the number had been spoofed. Maybe the delivery guy somehow saw her name and thought it would be funny to spook a woman alone on a stormy night. But that voice, it didn't sound like a prankster. It sounded personal. When dawn broke, weak light spilling through gray clouds, she finally allowed herself to drift into a restless sleep. But even then, she dreamed of knocking, always knocking, and the quiet voice whispering from behind the door. I'll be back. She spent the next day trying to return to normal. Coffee, cleaning, work emails, a hot shower. But everything felt fragile, like the silence was too deep, the air too still. That evening, curiosity got the better of her. She opened the food delivery app again. Pasta Vita was gone. Vanished. Not even in her order history. She checked online. No website, no social media, no contact info. Her fingers hovered over the phone. Should she call the police? What would she even say? A strange man delivered pasta. He was kind of weird. Now the restaurant doesn't exist. It sounded like something from a bad movie. Still, the thought lingered. Who had her number? Only the app did? Unless he worked for them. She tried calling their customer support. The woman on the line was polite, confused, and ultimately unhelpful. There's no record of an order from you yesterday, she said. Are you sure it was through our app? I'm looking at the bag now, Elena insisted, staring at the logo. It said Pasta Vita. That's where I ordered from. I'm sorry, ma'am. We have no affiliation with any vendor by that name. The line went silent after she hung up. Elena stared at her front door for a long time that night. On the third day, she saw him again. She was walking home from the store, the wind brisk, grocery bag swinging from her arm. Her boots splashed through puddles on the sidewalk. When she looked up to cross the street, there he was, across the road, leaning casually against a street light. Same black jacket, same dark cap. Her breath caught. Their eyes met. He didn't move, just watched her. His lips curled into that faint smile again. the same one she saw through the peephole. She stepped back onto the curb. Cars passed between them, and when they were gone, so was he. She whipped her head around. Nothing. No footsteps, no retreating figure. Her groceries nearly spilled as she ran the last 2 blocks home. That night, she didn't eat. She didn't read. She didn't sleep. She waited. She sat on the couch with the same blanket, lights on, front door double locked, chair wedged tightly beneath the knob, her phone fully charged in her hand. Every so often she'd glance at it, hoping and fearing it would buzz again. It didn't until 12:08 a.m. She dropped the phone in surprise. It was a message. A known number. Still hungry? She stared at it. Fingers trembling, she typed, "Elena, who are you?" No reply. Then, after 3 minutes, "Unknown number. You shouldn't open your door so easily." Her breath caught. She locked the screen, heart hammering. Her chest ached with each pulse. Another buzz. "Unknown number. Next time, check who you're really letting in." She called the number. Straight to voicemail, no greeting. Just the automated, "The person you are trying to reach is unavailable." She dropped the phone and backed away from the door again. And then, softly, a knock. Her scream caught in her throat. She crept to the door and looked through the peephole. Nothing. She didn't sleep at all. The following afternoon, just before sunset, there was a knock again. This time it was different, casual, rhythmic. She hesitated, then peeked. It was him, holding a real delivery bag this time, from a popular sandwich shop she often ordered from. His jacket was cleaner, his face freshly shaved. No hat. He looked different, less threatening. More handsome? She opened the door a sliver, the chain lock still on. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was steady, but her pulse wasn't. "Delivering lunch," he said, lifting the bag. "Grilled panini." "You didn't order it, but I figured you'd be hungry." She frowned. "You hacked my app?" "No." His face softened. "Look, I'm sorry. The other night, I scared you." "I shouldn't have. That wasn't my intention." "Then what was?" "I needed to know if you were okay." She stared at him. "You don't even know me." "I know more than you think." His eyes flicked to the hallway behind her again. "Can I come in? Just for 5 minutes." Her grip tightened on the door. She should say no. She should shut the door, call the police, scream, anything. But something about his voice stopped her. Calm, apologetic, gentle. The chain clicked loose. She stepped aside. He walked in slowly, eyes scanning the apartment like he was committing it to memory. She stayed near the door. "Who are you really?" she asked. He set the food down and turned to face her. "My name's Adrian. I used to work in private security. Freelance now." "Private security," she repeated. "So, you're stalking me? For work?" "No. I've been watching because someone else is." Her stomach dropped. "I didn't mean to scare you," Adrian said. "But I couldn't walk away after I saw your name show up on a flagged address list. Someone has been tracking you. Someone dangerous." She stepped back. "This sounds insane." "I know, but it's true. I can prove it. If you let me." She folded her arms. "Why should I trust you?" He gave her a look. Not smug, not pleading, just quiet. "Because the moment you opened the door the first time, I wanted to protect you. And I haven't stopped wanting that since." There was no punchline, no flirtatious wink, just sincerity. Stillness. Elena felt her walls shaking, not from fear, but something deeper. She didn't respond. Adrian took a slow step forward, closing the space between them. "Eat something," he said gently. "You look like you haven't slept in days. I'll sit here. We'll talk. Just talk. And I'll tell you everything." His presence filled the apartment like a warm shadow. Dangerous. Comforting. Impossible to ignore. Elena looked into his eyes. And though she couldn't explain why, she unlocked the next door inside her. She nodded. Chapter 3. Truth in the Shadows. The grilled panini sat untouched on the coffee table between them, its scent mixing with the quiet tension in the room. Elena watched Adrian carefully as he leaned back in the armchair, hands resting on his knees. Despite his casual posture, there was a readiness about him, like he could spring into action at any moment. "So," Elena began, arms folded tightly, "start talking." Adrian nodded slowly. 3 weeks ago, I was hired by someone in cybersecurity who had been tracking strange data patterns, pings from deep web networks that referenced a cluster of personal addresses. Yours came up more than once. She raised an eyebrow. "My apartment? Why?" "We don't know yet," he admitted. "But the way it was flagged, it wasn't random. Someone had been surveilling your building's IP addresses, checking who lived here, even pulling old utility data. Then the access attempts got more aggressive. Someone was trying to crack into your phone through your Wi-Fi." Elena felt the chill crawl up her spine. She hugged herself tighter. "Why me?" Adrian met her eyes. "That's what I want to find out." A heavy silence stretched between them. Then she asked, "So what? You decided to play creepy pasta guy to see how I'd react?" He winced. "Yeah, not my best idea. I thought if I delivered it myself, maybe I could get a read on you, see if you were involved, or if you were a target." Elena blinked. "Involved? I didn't know who you were," Adrian said, voice quiet. "I do now." She narrowed her eyes. "And who am I?" He gave a small smile. "Someone who triple locks her doors, but still opens them to strangers when she's lonely." Her heart skipped. "That's a guess." "It's a truth," he said, voice lowering. His gaze lingered on her a moment too long, and she felt something warm twist in her stomach. She hated that even now, after all of it, part of her wasn't afraid of him. Part of her was curious, drawn to him. "Well, didn't you just come forward sooner?" she asked. "Would you have believed me?" "No, probably not." "I need your help, Elena," Adrian said. "If someone's trying to get to you, we need to stay ahead of them. Have you noticed anything strange lately? Emails, messages, items out of place in your apartment?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I got a message from an unknown number the night after the delivery. Said, 'Hope you like the pasta.' And then, later, 'Next time, check who you're really letting in.'" Adrian's jaw tightened. "That wasn't me." Her breath caught. "What?" He leaned forward. "I haven't messaged you. Ever. I got your number from the delivery database, yes, but I never contacted you. That message, it came from someone else." Elena felt like the ground beneath her shifted. So someone else was watching? Someone else was outside my door that night? He nodded grimly. "And they were close enough to know you opened it. Close enough to know you ate the pasta. I thought that was just you being weird." I wish it had been. Elena shivered. The walls of her apartment suddenly felt paper thin. Is my phone still being tracked? She asked. Adrian reached for his bag and pulled out a small black device, no bigger than a deck of cards. He turned it on, and a soft blue light pulsed. As he moved it slowly over her phone, a sharp beep sounded. Adrian exhaled. Yeah, someone installed a remote listener. Her stomach turned. When? Could have been weeks ago. Months? Maybe you connected to a fake public Wi-Fi and didn't realize. He disabled the tracker, then powered down her phone. From now on, use this, he said, handing her a basic-looking flip phone. No apps, no internet, just calls and texts. Isn't that a little dramatic? She asked. Adrian's gaze didn't flinch. Someone broke through your defenses. You don't get to use comfort anymore. You get to use safe. She accepted the phone. And what happens now? She whispered. I stay, he said simply. At least for tonight. I'll set up a camera outside your door. Use my laptop to scan for nearby signals. If they come back, or try something, I'll be here. Elena hesitated. You're sleeping here? You're safer that way. And you? Sleep on the couch? He smiled slightly. Scout's honor. The tension between them eased just slightly, enough to let in a breath of something gentler. By midnight, the apartment was quiet. Adrian had made good on his word. A small surveillance camera now perched discreetly above the doorframe. The windows were locked, devices scanned, router replaced with one he brought from his own encrypted stash. Elena sat on the couch with a blanket draped over her lap, while Adrian typed on his laptop beside her. His fingers moved quickly, eyes focused. He looked relaxed, in control. Do you do this often? She asked, breaking the silence. Protect people, he replied, not looking up. Invade their apartments with sandwiches and spy. That made him laugh softly. Only the special ones, he said. Elena's heart gave a strange flutter. I was serious when I said I didn't know if you were involved, Adrian added. But the more I watched you, the more I saw how normal you are. How lonely, maybe, but not dangerous, not criminal. And now? She asked. He finally looked up at her. Now, I'm more worried about what someone else sees when they watch you. She swallowed. What do you mean? You're vulnerable, Elena. Kind. Trusting. You think you're cautious, but you open up the door anyway. You sleep next to your phone. You live alone. You don't tell anyone when something feels off. She stared at him. You sound like you've been inside my head. He nodded slowly. Maybe I have. For a long time, they didn't speak. Outside, the wind picked up again. Inside, the tension between them took a different shape. No longer fear, but something warmer. Electric. Adrian's gaze dropped to her lips. She noticed. Neither of them moved. Then, like a shift in gravity, she leaned a little closer. And he didn't stop her. His hand rose, slow and tentative, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. Her breath hitched. The warmth of his fingers lingered. Their faces were inches apart when he paused, eyes searching hers. You sure? She nodded. His lips met hers gently, almost too gently. But when she didn't pull away, he kissed her deeper, slower, his hand resting behind her neck. The tension between them melted into something undeniable. When they parted, breathless, she whispered, You're still sleeping on the couch. Adrian laughed. Yes, ma'am. But neither of them moved away. Chapter 4. Eyes that never blink. By morning, Elena barely remembered falling asleep. The couch cushions were still indented from where she and Adrian had sat. The blanket was tangled around her legs, and though the sun had barely crept past the horizon, the room already felt different, like something had shifted in the night. Adrian was gone. For a brief, panicked moment, her mind raced. Was it all a dream? Was I so lonely that I imagined it? But then she saw it, a folded note, resting on the coffee table beside her cold tea. Did a sweep of the hallway. Someone disabled the outer lobby cam at 2:47 a.m. I'm trying to recover the footage. Don't open the door unless it's me. Back soon. Her chest tightened. So it hadn't been over. The game was still in motion. She stood slowly, her muscles sore from sleeping curled up. She padded into the bathroom, splashed water on her face, and stared at her reflection. Pale, tired, but more alert than she'd looked in weeks. A part of her had wanted to believe last night was just paranoia, that Adrian had brought answers, protection, and something sweeter, warmer, beneath the danger. But if someone had returned in the night and killed the building's surveillance, that wasn't a coincidence, it was a warning. And whoever it was, they knew she wasn't alone anymore. Adrian returned at 7:00 a.m. sharp, looking grimmer than when he'd left. He carried 2 coffees and a paper bag of still warm croissants, but the shadows under his eyes said breakfast was the last thing on his mind. I couldn't recover the outer cam, he told her immediately. The feed was wiped, clean, professional, too clean. Meaning? Someone with serious skills, someone who doesn't want to be seen. Elena sipped her coffee, trying to suppress her trembling. So they were here, watching us. Maybe closer than that, Adrian muttered. You didn't hear anything last night? No. And then they didn't want you to. He took out his laptop and showed her something, a still frame from one of the temporary cameras he'd set up in the hallway. At 2:54 a.m., the frame was empty. At 2:45 a.m., there was a shape, a figure, hooded and blurred by motion, crouched near the junction box by the stairwell. No face, Adrian said. No badge, no identity. But this is professional infiltration. Do you think it's the same person who sent that text about the pasta? Almost certainly, and they're escalating. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. What do they want from me? Adrian's mouth opened, but he hesitated. Then, slowly, he reached into his bag and pulled out a file. I didn't want to show you this until I was sure. But I think it's time. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside were printouts, surveillance screenshots, timestamps, and a single grainy photo of a woman in a white lab coat. It took her a moment to recognize the face. My sister? Elena whispered. Adrian nodded. Marissa Connors. She was a lab technician at a biotech firm 3 years ago. Project designation Solara 7. The company was later shut down after a data breach linked to weaponized biotech research. I haven't spoken to Marissa in over a year, Elena said quietly. She cut contact. She didn't just vanish, Adrian said. She disappeared off every official record, scrubbed. Her apartment was cleaned out, her ID deactivated. The only reason I found that picture is because it was buried in an old employment backup server. Elena's stomach twisted. So this isn't about me? No. It's about what she left behind, and what someone thinks you know. That I don't? You might not, but that won't stop them from testing you. Elena looked down at the photo again. Marissa's eyes stared back, blank, unreadable. It didn't look like the sister she remembered. It looked like a stranger. If she was hiding something dangerous, Elena whispered, why didn't she tell me? Because she knew they'd come after you? The day passed in a haze. Adrian made calls from the kitchen, while Elena tried to distract herself with mundane tasks. Watering plants, folding laundry, scanning her old emails for any clues Marissa may have left, but nothing surfaced. She was haunted by the thought that while she'd been baking cookies or binge-watching crime dramas, someone had been studying her, waiting. By evening, Adrian sat across from her again. Maps and diagrams spread across the coffee table. If they come back, we'll be ready. I've installed motion sensors on your balcony. Anyone triggers them, we get an alert. I also spoof your building's front camera feed. It'll look like no one's home. Elena stared at him. How do you know how to do all this? He hesitated, then said, I wasn't always a delivery boy. She gave a half laugh, half sigh. I figured. Adrian leaned forward, gaze softening. You've been incredible through all this. She blinked. I don't feel incredible. You're calm, focused, and despite being terrified, you're still here. She met his gaze. So are you. He smiled faintly. Yeah, well, maybe I have a weakness for smart, brave women who make excellent coffee. Elena flushed. The moment thickened. But before either of them could say more, an alert buzzed on his laptop. They both froze. Motion detected. Balcony sensor? Adrian jumped up. Stay here. He darted toward the darkened kitchen, pulling out a flashlight and a concealed weapon. Elena's breath caught as he approached the balcony door, peered through the curtain. Then he relaxed. It's okay, he called. False alarm. Cat on the fire escape. She exhaled deeply, her heart pounding. Adrian returned a moment later and sat beside her, tension in his shoulders. Eleni leaned into him without thinking. Her body sought warmth, stability. His arm wrapped around her, almost automatically. Maybe this is the worst timing ever, she said softly. But I think I like you. He looked down at her. Elena, I don't mean because you're saving me. I mean, I saw you before. At the restaurant. I noticed. Adrian smiled. I noticed you too. Her hand brushed his fingers laced with hers. For the first time in days, she didn't feel like prey. She felt alive. And in the back of her mind, she knew they'd need more than croissants and kisses to win this battle. But for tonight, she let herself fall a little further into the safety of his arms. Chapter 5. A Whisper on the Line. Lena awoke before the sun, heart racing, her skin clammy with fear. A dream, or something worse, had dragged her from sleep. In the dream, she'd been alone again. Adrian was gone. The doorbell kept ringing and ringing, and when she finally opened the door, a faceless man stood there, holding a silver tray. On it, her sister's locket. She reached to touch it, but before her fingers made contact, the man whispered, "You should have answered the first time." She sat up on the couch now, gasping. Adrian stirred next to her, still half asleep, his arm protectively curled over her waist. "You okay?" "No," she whispered. "I think someone's trying to get in my head." He blinked away sleep, sat up straighter. Was it a dream? She nodded. But it felt like a memory. They both knew what that meant. They're using psychological tactics now, Adrian muttered. Dream seeding, sensory cues, soft interrogation without touching you. Audio devices, subsonics, visual suggestions. If they're manipulating your environment, it means we're closer to the core than I thought. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. This is insane. I'm just a school librarian. But you're Marissa's sister, he said, and someone thinks she gave you a key. Maybe literally. Elena blinked, then froze. The music box, she said. What music box? In my closet. An old ballerina music box Marissa gave me before she disappeared. It never worked right, but I never threw it away. Adrian stood. Show me. The box was dusty and pale blue, with tiny fading stars painted on its lid. It hadn't been touched in over a year. Elena had kept it under winter scarves, more out of nostalgia than suspicion. She placed it on the table between them and slowly opened the lid. The tiny ballerina spun once, then stopped. No music. Adrian tilted it, examined the edges, then he pressed gently on the base. A soft click echoed. From a hidden compartment, a square chip slid out. Elena's mouth dropped open. Adrian held the chip up to the light. Encrypted storage drive, he said quietly. Most people wouldn't even think to look in a broken music box. She trusted you. But I never knew. You weren't supposed to. He slid the chip into a converter attached to his laptop. As it loaded, lines of code flashed across the screen, dense, protected by layers of military-grade encryption. Can you crack it? She asked. Not from here. We'll need a secure port and isolated server, someplace they can't track us. Where do we go? There's a man I trust. He runs a cyberforensics lab about 40 miles from here. We'll leave tonight. But they'll follow us. I'll make sure they don't. That afternoon passed in tense preparation. Adrian packed equipment and essentials. Elena deleted her social media accounts and cleared her phone. Every step they took erased part of her old life. By 10:30 p.m., they were on the road in a rental car under a false name. Adrian drove in silence for the first hour, eyes scanning mirrors constantly. Elena tried to stay calm, but 1,000 thoughts churned in her head. What was on that chip? Why had Marissa gone through such extremes? And what would happen if they were caught? Just past midnight, they stopped at a deserted gas station off a back road. Adrian got out to stretch, and Elena followed. The air was cold, almost too quiet. You trust me, right? He asked suddenly. She turned to him. I do. He exhaled and stepped closer. Because I've been fighting this kind of ghost for years. But this? Us. It feels different. Elena's throat tightened. It is different. He gently brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. I don't want to lose you in all this. You won't. And then he kissed her. It was urgent, full of the fear they hadn't spoken, the need that had slowly grown between them. Their lips moved with desperation, fingers tangling in each other's jackets, as if clinging to the only safety they had left. When they pulled apart, the silence returned, but it felt changed. A bond forged in fire. Back in the car, Elena looked out the window at the dark fields racing past. Then her phone vibrated. A number she didn't recognize. She stared, unsure whether to answer. She did. Elena, said a soft, cold voice. You're going the wrong way. Her chest tightened. Who is this? You think he's protecting you, the voice said. But he's using you. The call ended before she could speak. She turned to Adrian, heart pounding. They called me. He pulled over immediately, scanned the car for tracking devices. "Nothing obvious. They're bluffing," he said. "They don't know where we're going." But Elena wasn't so sure. She could still hear the voice. Calm. Knowing. Like someone who'd watched her for a long, long time. They reached the lab at 1:45 a.m., an old warehouse converted into a tech fortress. The man inside, Miles, greeted them with a nod and ushered them in without a word. He and Adrian exchanged only brief glances, the kind that said, "We've done dangerous things together." The chip was slotted into a decryption system immediately. Lights blinked, fans whirred. Miles finally spoke. "It'll take an hour, maybe less. You should rest." Elena sat in a far corner, heart still racing. Adrian stood beside her. "You okay?" he whispered. She looked up at him. "No, but I'm glad I'm not alone." Chapter 6. Truth Inside the Code. The hum of computers filled the room like static in Elena's ears. Every screen glowed with lines of cascading code as Miles, Adrian's tech contact, hunched over the keyboard. His fingers danced, tapping commands with silent urgency. Sweat glistened on his forehead despite the chill. Elena sat near the wall, legs pulled against her chest, watching every flicker on the screen. Adrian stood at her side, one hand resting protectively on her shoulder. He whispered, "What if there's nothing on it?" "There is," Adrian said. "They wouldn't be after you if it were empty." Miles suddenly cursed under his breath. Encrypted inside another encryption. Nested security. She really didn't want anyone reading this. He knew what she was up against. Adrian replied. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then a window opened. Documents. Dozens. Images. Blueprints. Medical data. Video files. Audio logs. Miles scrolled quickly, eyes wide. "Oh my God," he muttered. Elena stood and moved closer. "What is it?" Adrian narrowed his eyes at the screen. Solera 7. It wasn't just biotech research, it was human testing. The screen displayed photos of people, dozens of individuals, all tagged with experimental labels, biometric readings, timestamps. Some looked sick, others inhuman. Elena's breath caught. One photo showed Marissa, smiling faintly, standing beside a man with pale eyes and surgical scars along his jaw. "What did she do?" Elena asked. Miles answered without looking away. "Not what she did, what she tried to stop." Adrian leaned over. "This file? It's a whistleblower dump." Marissa was collecting proof of illegal experimentation, genetic enhancements, neuroconditioning, and something else. He clicked on a file labeled Project Aerosygene. A video played. Marissa, pale and scared, sat in a lab, speaking into the camera. They said it was a behavioral compound, something to strengthen the human condition. But it manipulates emotions, love, fear, loyalty. You can make someone fall in love with their enemy or hate their family. It rewires their identity. Elena's blood went cold. Adrian whispered, "They weaponized emotion." The video continued. "I stole a sample. I think they're tracking me through it. If you're seeing this, Elena, don't trust anyone, not even..." The screen flickered. The video glitched. Even him. It cut to black. Elena stood frozen. What? What did she mean? Adrian backed away slightly, jaw clenched. "Elena," he began. She turned toward him. "Not even who, Adrian?" "I don't know," he said carefully. "It could have been anyone." "You sure about that?" His face hardened. Yes. But there was something in his eyes. Something she hadn't seen before. A shadow of hesitation. They left the lab before dawn. Miles burned the data onto a drive and encrypted it 6 different ways, then handed it to Adrian. "You didn't get this from me," he said. "Understood." Elena barely spoke during the ride back. Her mind reeled with Marissa's warning, the haunting images, the truth that love could be chemically manipulated. What if what she felt for Adrian wasn't real? What if it was the compound? Was that why their connection had sparked so suddenly? She stared at him now. His focused face, his strong hands gripping the wheel, his tense shoulders. She wanted to trust him, but doubt had taken root. And it was growing fast. By mid-morning, they arrived at a safe house Adrian claimed was off every radar. A secluded cabin in the woods, no power lines, no signals, just trees, silence, and secrets. Inside, Elena finally confronted him. "Tell me the truth, Adrian. Who were you before all this?" He sat on the edge of the wooden table, quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I was a field agent, cyber intelligence. I ran surveillance, cleanups, black box missions. But I got out. I couldn't stand what I was being used for." "Were you ever involved in Solara 7? He met her eyes. "No. But I knew people who were. And I saw what it did to them. It tore apart everything real in their lives. Then why didn't you tell me this earlier?" "Because I was trying to protect you," he said. "I wanted you to trust me." She stepped closer. "And now?" "I still want that, but I'll learn it." She looked down at the drive in his hand. "Is this the only copy?" "Yes." He offered it to her. "No passwords. No tricks. You want to burn it? I won't stop you." Elena took it slowly. Her fingers brushed his. Electricity still passed between them. But was it real? She turned away and placed the drive on the windowsill. "I'll decide tomorrow," she said quietly. "Tonight, I need to think." Adrian nodded. "Whatever you need." That night, Elena lay awake in the small bedroom under a blanket that smelled of cedar. She couldn't sleep. Her mind spiraled with questions. Had Adrian saved her or led her into this? Was the fear she felt her own or someone else's invention? And, most dangerous of all, had she truly fallen for him? Or was she just another test subject in someone else's game? She sat up and walked to the window. Outside, the woods were still. The moonlight painted everything silver. Behind her, she heard soft footsteps. "Adrian." He stopped at the doorframe. "Couldn't sleep?" She shook her head. He stepped closer. Slowly. "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know. I meant everything. The kiss, the protection. You." She looked up at him. Her heart wanted to believe. Her mind screamed caution. But when he stepped forward and gently wrapped his arms around her, she let him. Because in that moment, she realized something. Even if it wasn't real, it felt real. And sometimes that was the only thing that could save you.